everyone, and welcome to episode 41 of the Inkwell Gamers podcast. We know it's been a while, and we apologize, but man, it was a crazy few weeks there that we had from attending the Atlanta DLC, turning around, and 2 weeks later doing the Chicago DLC. It was a lot, so thank you for your patience, and hopefully we're going to get back on track this week. We appreciate your understanding. Hopefully you understand. Hopefully you're not mad at us and you just decide to not listen to us anymore.
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround. It wouldn't have been so bad if it was the same format, but obviously it was a completely different one, and
Right.
we were still trying to pump out some of the set reviews for that. So yeah, it was a lot to do in a couple weeks, and yeah, let's just get right into Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. Chi-Town.
Chi-Town, baby. All right, so Dana, how did you do in Chicago?
Oh, we're just jumping right in, huh?
Yeah, well.
So I was going into Chicago with the goal that I did better than I did in Atlanta, and that there was at least one round where I took both of the games. And I did that. I did both. I met my goal. So
Crush your goal.
I ended up with 33 points. I'm pretty proud of myself. Got a t-shirt because I got enough tickets, which I guess we can talk about too. Something that we discussed in our Atlanta recap and hoped that they would change for future ones is that they would provide the main event attendees tickets throughout the day, depending on how you do. And that's exactly what they did for Atlanta, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like, if you got 30 points in the 9 rounds, you got enough tickets to get the Rapunzel, which was going for like $200 at the time.
Yeah.
So it really negates some of the costs that it takes to go to Chicago and spend a couple nights there. So that was really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it even helped the people who, like me, didn't make it to day 2, but we got enough tickets to at least get something for that day, so all of our efforts kind of weren't for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was pretty nice. So I walked away a winner because I got a t-shirt, which is what I've been wanting all along. So.
That's right.
But yeah, so I'll just go through my rounds really quick, and then we can talk about how you did and what you played against and all of that. But I was really shocked that in my 9 rounds of Swiss, I only saw the mirror once, and it was in my very first round. I went into Chicago anticipating to go against more of Emerald Steel. So I know maybe I just got lucky and I didn't get paired with them, because it did sound like some of our friends that went played it a lot. But at least for me, I only saw it once and I took it. I went 2-0 with that. In an overview, I feel like I did my worst against Ruby Sapphire, and I did kind of so-so against Ruby Amethyst. So round 1, Emerald Steel, 2-0. Round 2, Ruby Amethyst, we split. Round 3 was Ruby Steel, which was pretty interesting. That was a pretty nerve-wracking round, to say the least. I was selected to be one of the featured streams, and I went 2-0, but I did not like that experience. So
it can be stressful.
It was so stressful. I think if I ever were to get lucky and get on a featured match again or selected, I honestly would probably turn it down. It was so scary for me that I put my body through a really adrenaline pumping situation that was unnecessary, and I didn't like the feeling of myself afterwards. I blanked out and made some mistakes and just wasn't thinking straight. I felt like, and I mean, I could be open. Like, I struggle with anxiety pretty bad. And so I don't know why I even said yes. I think it was just, it all was so quick. I didn't have a chance to think. And then when it came time to it, they asked us if everybody's okay being on camera, but we were already in the room and getting paired to our tables and everything. And I felt weird saying no. So, but yeah, like I was shaking underneath the table. I felt like I wasn't breathing. I didn't think straight. I feel like, at least for me, because I'm so new to competitive TCGs, I still have to really focus very hard even in matches where I feel like I might be doing well in, I still feel like I can't lose focus because it's not natural to me yet. It's not like muscle memory. I've been playing something for 20 years or something like that. I don't have that muscle memory. I'm still having to be very meticulous, and that just really made it very difficult for me to maintain focus. Like I was still focused, but like not relaxed enough to where I could be, I don't know. It's hard to describe, like relaxed and focused, but in the zone, I couldn't be in the zone. Like I was still focused, but just also not able to think multiple turns ahead, not able to think about what exactly I was doing. It was scary.
Yeah, it can put like this unnecessary pressure on you to perform because you know that a bunch of people are just going to be watching you and commenting on things that may or may not have happened, and that can be stressful.
It was. Yeah, I didn't even realize I did something until I went back and watched it. And I was so distraught with myself because I'm such a hard critic on how I perform. And I'm constantly trying to find things I could have done better, things I might have misplayed. And so the fact that I didn't even realize that I forgot to put damage counters on a character when they attacked. And it didn't, I hope it didn't do anything as far as like truly determining the outcome of that game. But I mean, I was being called a cheater and it was unintentional. Like I honestly blacked out. I don't remember it. I don't remember doing that at all. But yeah, that was it. Kudos to the people that like to do that because I'm pretty sure next time I'm just going to straight up say no.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed my experience with it. It wasn't too bad for me, but I can definitely understand how that would be stressful, especially given the situation that happened. And I know you better than anyone, and I know that that was not an intentional thing that happened. Like, sometimes mistakes just happen, and I mean, it's also your opponent's responsibility to maintain the game state.
And the judge, too.
And the judge, and even the announcers said something regarding it, but then nothing happened. So, like, there are a lot of people that could have helped keep the situation accountable.
Well, the commentators watch it later. They watch the recording later.
That's true.
But nonetheless, like, I feel like people are behind the curtain, like, watching. Because I did make another mistake. So they were playing Tiana, and I had 4 actions in my hand, and they didn't have any cards in theirs because, I'm playing a discard. And so I knew for 3 or 4 turns, I can't play these cards. And I knew that I can't play these cards because of Tiana. I can't play these cards because of Tiana. And then like 5 turns later, I tried to play an action. Mm-hmm. And like they had it, like I drew my card, my opponent put the character away, and then all of a sudden the judge had to come out from behind the curtain and like correct that game state. But like that's a perfect example. Like I knew 3 or 4 turns, I can't do anything. And then I just tried doing it because I don't know. I lost my focus because I was so worried about just every little thing I did. I worried about, and I know I shouldn't care about what other people think, but I am a people pleaser, I admit. And so I do like I do care about how people think of me. And so I was like worried about every single little thing, like, are they going to say something? Oh, I forgot to do this for a brief second. Hope they don't come at me. Like, and I shouldn't care, but I did. And it got to me. It honestly did.
Yeah, that I can tell that did not make your experience for the rest of the day a positive one.
No, I feel like it took me about 3 because we broke for lunch right after that. I was freaking out the whole time up in our hotel room, and it took me about 3 rounds. It took me to about rounds between 6 and 7 where I feel like I finally started to just let it go. But I was so worried about it. I felt like I kind of lost focus for the next few rounds because I was just so down in the dumps, honestly. Yeah. And I know I shouldn't I should just brush it off and say it is what it is. Like, it's not like people really will like remember me and come at me like they unfortunately did with Savage. Like, I'm not obviously at that level or that popularity, but I still care about, I don't want people to, I don't know, I don't want them to think that I did it intentionally because I absolutely did not. I honest to goodness, blacked out. But nonetheless, so round 4, Ruby Amethyst split again. Like I said, it was kind of it could go either way type of matchup for me. Round 5, Ruby Sapphire, I dropped both to them. Ruby Amethyst split again. Ruby Sapphire, I did split one of those. And then round 8 really shocked me, in which I really wanted to talk about. I did lose both of these in round 8 to a Ruby Sapphire deck, but it caught me by surprise, honestly. They were doing location Ruby Sapphire. So they had McDuck Manor, RLS Legacy, and then they had Jim Hawkins in that. Mm-hmm. So they absolutely annihilated me. And I had a feeling that they had done that because Emerald Steel was predicted to be one of the more popular decks of that weekend, and everybody knows that deck has a really hard time dealing with locations because we just don't have powerful attack characters. And so I asked him after we were done if he had done the whole location package in anticipation for the Emerald Steel deck, and he said yeah, because they just pretty much exactly what I said. Like, we just don't have anything that can do anything. Like, I would have to put, if I have 3 characters on the board and I swing all of them into McDuck Manor, I still don't get rid of it that turn.
Right, yeah. If there's one thing to be taken away is that some locations, well, really most locations that have like 7 willpower or more are just really hard to get off the board. Like, everything from Arliss Legacy, McDuck Manor, Queen's Castle, those things are extremely annoying. Even the Cove that the Emerald decks were playing, it's kind of really good in the Emerald mirrors because they can't get it off the board very easily, and it just makes your characters a little bit stronger. So locations are really strong right now.
Yeah, I think going forward, I actually might anticipate, which we can talk about after you recap too. We can talk about going forward at the end, but I kind of want to consider putting in Hidden Cove into an Emerald Steel deck. But and then lastly, my last match, or my last round, Sapphire Steel, I took it into to get the over 30 points to get my tickets for my t-shirt.
Yeah, unfortunately, you actually had to play that round out.
Yeah.
A lot of us just were able to draw in that round. 1-1 split.
Yeah, we actually had to winner takes all type of thing, but we did end up playing both games, which I kind of wished my opponent would. I'm not the type of person where I'm going to offer that. Maybe I should start getting used to calling out the situation and requesting, hey, you want to do best of 1 or whatever, but my opponent kind of hinted at it, like, oh, both of us are going to, I guess we're fighting for tickets, and I go, yep, looks like we are. And then after the first game, I think, or maybe even before the first game, he was like, one of us is going to have to take both. I said, yeah, seems like it. Yep. And I thought at that point he might have been like, do you want to just do best of 1? But we didn't. And then even after the first one, I thought, honestly, if I would have lost the first game, I would have been like, you can have it. Because either we both don't get it or you get it.
Yeah, what's the point?
What's the point, right?
There's no difference for you, so...
Yeah, so if I would have lost the first round, or the first game, I would have just given it, but I won it, and I know I shouldn't expect it, but I almost anticipated them to be like, you can just have it, but played it out. Played it out anyway, but I ended up taking both, so it was pretty nice. Also, aside from the mirror match going into the weekend, I was most scared to see the Sapphire Steel decks because of Cogsworth. I had played against that deck in the pack tournament the week before, and it was just extremely difficult to get around Cogsworth and what he has and what he does to the other characters as well. Like, it's just something that I don't deal with very well. So I was really scared for that matchup, but I think I was able to just quickly do my Bucky thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they also have Grab Your Swords and Tinks, which are very annoying.
I did get Grab Your Sorted, I think, but I was able to recover quicker because at that point, I think they were just top decking, and I still had cards in my hand, so I was able to at least recover from that and still get it. But yeah, overall, pretty good. I'm pretty proud of myself despite having a little bit of a bump in the middle of the day, and affected me. That's probably why we honestly didn't even rush home and record right away, is because A, we were exhausted from just traveling so quickly back to back. And B, I wasn't into it.
Right.
But here we are. So sorry for the delay. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good weekend. Do you want to, how did yours go, Dalton? Tell us.
So I only ended up with 32 points. You beat me.
I did.
You beat me. So I went, 2, 1, and 6. I just had so many draws. So it was a really interesting day for me because in the first 7 rounds of the tournament, I played against 7 different decks, which is not something I would have seen coming.
Yeah.
Just like I played against like 3, maybe 4 different decks in all of Atlanta. So it was a big shock. I expected to play the Mirror multiple times. I expected to play Emerald Steel multiple times and Blue Steel multiple times, Ruby Amethyst, and I just played against all those decks once. So it was a surprising turn of events as far as that goes. So the first round, I got paired against Steel Song, which, if they don't have flutes, is usually a pretty easy matchup, and I end up winning that 2-0, so off to a good start. Then the second round, I got paired against Steel Sapphire. I won the first game pretty easily. They won the second game pretty easily. I think they just played like an aerial and a dime, and I couldn't beat it. That was kind of upsetting just because, like, in general, I think that's a pretty favorable matchup as long as you both have respectable draws, and they just kind of played an aerial and a dime, and I couldn't answer it, and I lost. So that was a little unfortunate.
So were you playing any of like the Be Keen Disputed or Tremaine, since that aerial has ward, or did you not have any in your deck? Did you not see it?
No, I didn't play any of those cards, mainly just because I couldn't figure out how to fit them in.
Yeah.
And I didn't find my Be Prepared in time, which be preparing a 1-for-1 just on their aerial really isn't a good exchange anyway.
Be preparing.
Be prepared in.
Be prepared in.
I'm not sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I was thinking about
you
that
just
one
looked
too.
over and I'm like mumbling to myself.
I'm not really sure either.
Preparing. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah,
Squirrel.
yeah. So that matchup actually got a lot better for the Steel Sapphire players. I still don't necessarily think it's favored, but Ariel is a really powerful card in the mirror, or in that matchup. Round 3, I played against Ruby Sapphire, played the mirror, I won 2-0. I was also in the feature area, so that was really cool. We were in there together.
Yeah, we were in there together. We got a little picture together.
That's right, that was pretty cool. My opponent in the first game had a weird moment where they played a Maui's fish hook, and they covered up their lucky dime with it, like they just kind of put it on top. Mm-hmm. And I think that since it wasn't visually right in front of them, I think that caused them to miss activating a dime on their Tamatoa for like 6 or 7. And
6 or 7 turns?
6 or 7 lower that one turn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they ended up losing them. I don't know if they would have ended up winning because I don't know what was in their hand if they would have activated a dime that turn, but I ended up winning that game on not my next turn, but the turn after. Mm-hmm. And then game 2, I'm not really sure what happened. I think I was on the play this game, and I just ended up having a faster dime Tamatoa draw than them, so that was kind of nice. Then, round 4, I played against Ruby Amethyst. A very tough matchup because sometimes they can just get free wins with Flynn Rider into Sisu into Queen's Castle, and that can be really hard to deal with. And I think I just made a misplay in the first game. They played a Flynn, which they had already gotten, so they got 3 lore on their first turn, and then they played a Sisu, and I played a Sisu on my turn, but I was thinking that their Flynn wouldn't get the lore because I thought that my Sisu might. I forgot how the interaction worked. I just wasn't thinking very clearly, so they ended up getting like a bunch more free lore off the Flynn Rider when I could have just brawled it instead of playing the Sisu, and they end up kind of just squeaking the game out at the very end. So I think if I would have just played the brawl, I might have been able to win game one. At least it would have been a lot closer because they wouldn't have got like 4 extra free lore.
Yeah, if you don't get that Flynn off quick, it's like he's just gonna keep increasing the gap.
Oh yeah. It kind of just runs away with the game, which
Thank you. That was a way better way of saying what I wanted to
no,
say.
you're good. And then in game 2, they missed their 4th ink and just had a bunch of uninkables in their hand, and I kind of was able to run away with it because they couldn't really gain any traction. So a little lucky in that game, but I mean that's kind of what happens when you play. He probably had like 16 uninkables in his deck, which is kind of a lot for those decks at this point. So that happens. Round 5, I played against Emerald Amber.
Ooh.
So yeah, I did not see this coming. The first game, I absolutely crushed them. They got 2 lore. They had nothing really going on. In the second game, they did the Reverso Uno card on me and just absolutely crushed me. They had a pretty aggressive draw, backed up by some discard of my Be Prepareds and some other stuff. So I just didn't have a lot of resources to work with. And yeah, they dad blasted me and I died.
Not the dad blast.
They dad blasted me and I had no more cards in my hand, and yeah, they ended up getting it. So that was a little unsuspected, especially after how the first game went. It was one of those situations that they just didn't have the You Have Forgotten Me. I probably would have won the game because like 2 cards in my hand were like a Medusa and it was like a Flaversham. So I would have had plenty of card advantage and stuff, but they had it, and yeah, I lost because of it. It happens.
No.
It happens, I guess. Well, unfortunate, but it is what it is. Round 6 was Emerald Steel, 1-1 again. I won the first game. I was on the play. They won the second game. Just kind of made me discard a bunch. I couldn't get any traction, and I lost. That's just kind of what happens sometimes when they do their Bucky thing. They didn't have the Bucky the first game, and when they don't, I don't think that deck is particularly great.
Squirrel's gonna squirrel.
Squirrel's gonna squirrel. The squirrel squirreled me the second game, and I just didn't have it. Which
Squeakity
which
squeak.
happens.
Squeaked. Yeah. Squeakity squeak.
Squeakity squeaketh me. Round 7, Steel Amethyst. So yeah, first game I was able to stabilize when they had like 16 lore. Well, no, I probably stabilized when they had like 12 lore. Then they started to goat bounce stuff, but it was just a little too slow, and I was able to finish them with Tamatoa.
Were they doing? So I'm assuming they were doing the whole Jafar wheel thing.
No, they didn't have Jafar in their deck at all. It wasn't like the Floodborn stuff. It was just kind of a straight aggressive take on it. They were pretty low to the ground. I think they pretty much just topped off at Beast and the Honey Wizard of all things.
Someone's putting in their deck.
He was like, yeah, it trades with Maui and it doesn't get Medusa, so it's actually been pretty decent for me. I was like, you know what? Those are some decent reasons, so
Yeah.
I gotta give it to him. He pretty much just inked it the whole time I played against him, but yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Then the second game, I think he just played like a Queen's Castle on turn 4, like Smee and like a Binja into Queen's Castle, and it was just too fast. So that was a little sad. And then in round 8, I was in a position where me and my opponents were both in positions where we had to win the last 2 rounds to get into the top cut. My opponent won the first game, and yeah, he top decked a Tamatoa, and if he didn't top deck Tamatoa, I was gonna win. But he did, so he won. happens. And then I just wanted to play out the second game for fun, and he just kind of wiped the floor with me, so that was okay. Even if I won that second game, I was still gonna give it to him just because I didn't want to dream crush him. like he deserved it. Like he won the first game, and that's what I would have expected from him. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how he ended up doing. I don't know if he made it based on the last round or not, but so that was just kind of disappointing, just because I was one turn away from having that hope going into the ninth round.
Yeah.
In the ninth round, I had 29 points going into it. My opponent and I just split so we can get to that 30-point threshold.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was my tournament.
Nice. You remember your matches way more than I do. All I have to go off of are what I played against and how I did. So kudos to you for having that kind of memory.
Thank you. That's like the one thing I have a good memory for.
I always have the like Ted Lasso, think like a goldfish. And I've always been like this in sports too. I might have one or two things that really stick out, but I pretty much don't recall anything. It's just once it's over, and I forget. Short-term memory. So,
yeah, I wish I recalled just a little bit more so I could like learn from it. It's really hard to like learn from your mistakes when you can't really pinpoint what they are in that time, just because it's just so hard to know what happens in every single match. And there are just a lot of times where you could just make a ink mistake on turn 1 or 2 and that causes you the match, but it's really hard to learn that because it's hard to remember, and it's hard to know if that's what snowballed the game. So
yeah.
I think that's why Lorcan is really interesting. It's like this one little mistake on the first turn can end up causing the...
Because like with Magic, you know, you have your true mana cards, and so it's like, of course you're going to ink it. Or not ink it, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have any other choice. That's what they do. That's what they're there for. But, yeah, it's that gamble of inking something early because it might be your only option, and then are you going to live to regret it or not? You know, it's hard.
It's like, man, I really need to ink this Maui, but if I don't draw another one, I can never kill the Queen's Castle, you know?
especially the cards that you don't have 4 of. Where you know, okay, I only have 2 of these, and I'm inking one of them. So here we go.
Here we go.
But, yeah, what did you get with your tickets?
I got the Rapunzel.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like, it's just the best value. Might as well grab it.
But did you sell it?
I didn't know. Nope, it's in the binder.
Hey, it's all good. It's your card. You do with it as you wish. But me, I'm going to wear my shirt today. So...
Love that for you.
How's that going for you? Okay, so let's just talk generic challenge stuff. I know that they started allowing a couple of things that you can do on your actual board. One of them being, which they did request for the featured match, they did request that we implement it, but leaving the card that you ink that turn face up, and then when it's the end of your turn, flipping it over. That was kind of hard for me to remember. I would remember like halfway through my opponent's turn and then have to like flip it really quick. Like,
yeah.
Oh. But is that something that you did yourself? Is that something you feel like a lot of your opponents had done?
So it's something I'm trying to start to implement myself, just because I don't think I'd worry about it so much if I wasn't playing so many blue decks.
Yeah.
But because I'm playing a bunch of Sapphire ramp decks, it can be kind of tedious just to remember what you've inked sometimes, or how many times you've inked if you have quills or one jump, whatever. So that's just something I'm starting to implement just so I don't miss it or forget, and it helps my opponent keep track as well. So I didn't do it the whole day Saturday, but I think I did implement it a lot, and it's something that I'm probably going to start doing going forward.
Well, if you remember, but when we had talked about the set championships a couple weeks ago, the one that you judged, it was in the finals, and he was playing Ruby Sapphire, and there was a little bit of confusion as to how much ink he should have. I think he might have accidentally inked an extra card or whatever, and so in that moment, prior to that announcement being made, you guys did implement the, hey, you can just leave that up, face up for your turn, and then when it's your turn, just flip it over. Like, so that's kind of funny that you guys implemented that because everybody kind of in that game requested it.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to now be actually allowed.
That's a thing, yeah.
It's a thing. So that's pretty cool. But the other thing that they said was okay is basically the cards that you're inking kind of get it using almost like placeholders for your ink. So you ink a card, you put it off to your side off the board, and then you just have like maybe a card that says ink or whatever on that, because some people like to put their hands down when it's not their turn, and they don't want to accidentally either mix it up with their inkwell or their opponent thinking they're mixing up with their inkwell, and so they're doing that. Did you see anybody do that? I didn't, but
I didn't play against anyone. I know a couple of our people in our play group have implemented it.
yeah.
So I'm probably not going to, just because that's just an extra thing I have to worry about and carry around, and I'm kind of minimalistic as far as that goes. I try to be. So I'm probably not going to mess with that too much. What about you? Is that something that you think about that you might want to do?
No.
No.
I feel like very rarely do I put my hand down. Yeah, I feel like maybe lately I find myself just when we're playing casually with our friends, I do just put it down because I might have like a drink or something, but typically I think in a competitive set I'll just keep it in my hand, which I get. Like sometimes it is kind of annoying. It's like first world problems, right? I get sometimes you don't want to have to hold it the entirety of the game, but I don't think I will. Similar to, I feel like I already have so many things I'm personally trying to worry about in the game itself. I don't want to have to forget to do something for that or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten pretty good about just setting my hand up and away. So I just don't even, like, if I put my hand down, it's like hardly even on the play mat. It's just up and away from my ink, just because I don't want there to be any confusion. But yeah, I probably won't mess with separate.
Yeah. How do you think that the overall event was ran?
So we only had like one hiccup throughout the whole event, so that was really nice. So yeah, I think the event was ran pretty well, honestly. I kind of wish we didn't have the lunch break. That's just like, we're already there so long. I would rather just not have the lunch break and just kind of power through it.
See, I would rather have it, but more,
or maybe
after
later.
round 4 or 5, because if you're doing 9 rounds and you do it after round 3, that's still pretty early.
Yeah, it seems pretty early. So yeah, maybe that's an adjustment. Just make it a round or 2 later. So yeah, but other than that, I thought the event was ran pretty well.
Yeah,
I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, I agree. We didn't have any melee crashes, so that was nice. But like you said, there was a round where there was kind of a hiccup. I think it just took really long time for the pairings to pair. But we didn't wait around too long. I feel like the flow too, and I know that this is more dependent upon the venue, but the flow of once you were done leaving the area and then coming back in wasn't too bad. Whereas I felt like Atlanta, once you left and then when you came back in, you had to basically funnel into it. I don't know. It was kind of annoying, but the flow of everything went really well. And I don't know. That's all I got.
Is there anything you would change about your deck going forward? If you were to replay that event again, would you play the same 60?
No. I think, so I was still running 4 Ursula Deceiver and 4 Ursula Deceiver Evolves. I still was doing that. But I think going forward, I might reduce, either go down to 3 and 3 or take out, I didn't really double sing too much. There were a couple, but not any amount that would have really been impactful, in my opinion. Maybe take her out altogether. And I don't know what I would have put in. Maybe Hidden Coves. I don't know. But I did like having the Tink and the Grab Your Sword, because I know back in set 3, obviously it was a completely different deck, but I went back and forth. Do I put in the Grab Your Swords? Do I not? Do I have the Tink? Do I not? And that was more of a debatable swap for me, but I think it did pretty well in set 4 for that deck. And I mean, like I said earlier, we can talk about it towards the end about maybe what we're trying out now, if we're playing with the same deck, if we're doing something different. But spoiler alert, I'm trying something else. But I think for the set championships, I will go back to my tried and true. It's just Emerald Steel is just way too comfortable for me to not keep trying to perfect for myself. But I probably would do Hidden Co for the set championships, I think. But I don't know. How about you?
Based on the amount of time I had to test, I probably would have played a very similar deck, but maybe change out a couple cards. I'm not sure exactly what that would be because I just have a lot of ideas that are just kind of flowing through my head right now. But I think if I sat down and practiced a lot, I think I probably would have added some Marisa's workshops and some more one cost items and just a couple more characters. For example, the 2-cost Corella, just because that can be a character that you play on turn 2 that's bigger than Flynn Rider. Mm-hmm. So they don't get the trigger, but also it's a card that trades with Diablo. So with the amount of practice that I had, I probably would have just ran back mostly the same deck. But if I had a lot more practice, I would probably play the same color combination, but it would look a lot different.
Would you, or did you regret not playing Beacon Undisputed, and or Lady Tremaine to try to get around the Ward characters, especially with Bucky being so crazy right now? And then the new Ariel, too.
So I don't really think that those cards are good against Bucky, just because usually have other characters in play. Mm-hmm. It is better against Ariel because a lot of times they don't have other characters in play just because it's a more expensive card and they don't play as many cheaper characters, or they're ink a lot of times in the matchup. Mm-hmm. So probably not. Like I said, I think I just go with Maurice's Workshops. I felt like when I didn't have Flaversham, my draws were just not very powerful, and that's kind of this specific Sapphire deck. Mm-hmm. Sapphire Steel can kind of get away with not having Flaversham sometimes because they just have 8 popsicles to draw, and a lot of times they have a whole new world. So they have draw power outside of that, and I just wanted another card advantage engine, especially one that's relatively cheap that you can play into Bucky. I mean, they have Aladdin sometimes, which can be annoying, but whatever. But you can play it down, and then every item you draw for the rest of the game, you can continuously just draw more cards, and that might be a way to beat the Bucky decks. So I've been trying stuff with that, and that might be the route I'll go if I can figure out the top end a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Is the same deck something that you're experimenting with right now, or are you trying out a different color combo in the meantime?
Oh, right now I'm just I just love the Ruby Sapphire deck, so I'm just trying to figure out the best version of that for me. If I switch to another deck, it'll be probably some Queen's Castle deck, because that card is ridiculously strong. But yeah, those are I either want to play with Flaversham or Queen's Castle. I think those are just 2 really strong cards in the format. Mm-hmm. You already have the Diablos locked down, so I guess I'm stuck with those 2.
Yeah. Well, too bad, so sad. So, not about me. No, I'm just kidding. I do think you just pilot. I know that you briefly went back to Ruby Amethyst, which is what you were playing since set 1 came out up until set 3. You were doing it for the first, 3.5 or 2.5 sets?
Really, 3.25 sets. I played it at the beginning of set 3 as well. That's what I top 8 the pack with. Yeah.
And then you swapped over to Ruby Sapphire, and you just pilot that really well, honestly. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised at all. But what I'm doing... I thought you were going to ask me.
It looked like you were just going to continue to talk, so...
Fine. No, I'm actually experimenting with... I don't know how similar of the list to the one that you played against is, but I'm experimenting with Emerald Amber right now. I obviously do love my Emerald Steel deck. I am very confident with it, but I just want to take a break, but still a competitive break. I know that for League, I make a couple of like fun movie themed decks, but I know that those aren't necessarily trying to be good. I mean, like I did try to make them the best I can, right? But it's not competitive. So I'm trying to do a competitive deck that's switching it up a little bit. So I landed on Emerald Amber just because I'm still liking the Emerald, but it honestly has a little bit of a discard feel to it, but I'm not running Bucky. Like it's not heavy discard. I do play Dad Blast. But I think really the only Emerald cards I'm doing are both Diablos, Ursula. Of course, I'm blanking.
Prince John.
I did bring him back. So
Muses.
Yeah, I basically there was one Emerald Amber deck that made it to day 2 of Chicago, and I just took their deck list and I'm just trying it out. I think I have maybe one less. I forgot what card it is, but we only had the Muses. I think we only had 2 of them, and they wanted 3, or they were playing 4 and we have 3, but nonetheless I had one less of that, so I just added an extra of, I don't even remember, but it's pretty much 59 cards. It's all the same, and trying that out. Might tweak it a little bit, but yeah, I'm kind of... Prince John, I felt like, was my least favorite card in set 3. I knew that he was important for part of the deck's main engine, but if I saw him late, I just didn't like him. And I really try to avoid playing a lot of cards where if I see them late, I don't like it. But I feel like the set 4 deck, it was like when I got to the point where it was late game and I might be top decking, it was like I was doing good ones. I got a Beast, then a Robin, then a Tink. And so it was like good top decks, I feel like. And the Friar Tuck, the Prince John, those were ones where I'm just like, son of a gun. This is what I drew. Like, this is what I drew. But no, playing him and I don't know, trying it out, doing the Kita to work with the
Under the Sea,
and then having Ariel in there too is pretty nice. So yeah.
It's a sweet deck.
It is a sweet deck. I was unsure about it at first just because I didn't think it was going to be very powerful. But so yeah, that is doing pretty well for me in the testing phase that we're at right now. But probably when it comes time for set champs, I really want that Ursula. I want Ursula matte even. That's gonna, I don't know, that might be my goal, but definitely at least a card. And I'm going back to my tried and true, my Steel Emerald. So we'll see. But
I believe you can do it.
Thanks. Appreciate ya. But yeah, overall, pretty crazy few weeks. And it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We were talking about whether we're going to go to another one or not, but still TBD. Because we do still need to figure out when and where Continentals are. If Continentals are next year, yeah, we're fine. Maybe we can squeeze in another one. But if they're going to try to do it at the end of this year, I don't know if we can do one more plus that. So we'll see. But
Toronto's on the menu.
Yeah, we didn't realize that Toronto is probably like 6 hours from our house. So we might do it.
Yeah, that's the one that we're considering. Yeah.
I thought that would be the farthest from our options, but here we are. So
yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything we want to talk about. After this episode, we're going to pick it back up with our set review. Was it Ruby next? So
it's been a hot minute. Sorry about that.
It's okay. We appreciate you guys being patient with us. With that being said, Ruby's our next set review, and we hope you guys have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, have a good week, guys.